Okay, so it's 6:30, so we're gonna call the meeting to order, and get rolling. Thanks, Suzanne, for taking that off the screen. The first order of business, is to review and make any changes to the agenda. I have got one addition, and that's just under roads and bridges as it relates to the Longley Bridge project. We need to adopt the amended budget from Dubois King. We've talked about this a number of times, but we've never actually formally said, yes, we adopt the budget. Any other additions or deletions to the agenda?
I don't have any.
No? Okay, great. With that, we will move on to approval of the minutes from November 17th. Is there a motion to approve the minutes as written?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
Great. We have a motion from Leanne, second by Suzanne. Is there any further discussion? Not hearing any, we'll vote. All those in favor of approving the minutes as written, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, motion carries. Moving on to public works, roads and bridges. So the first item here relates to the Longley Bridge Road Stabilization Project. Sorry, I'm just grabbing the appropriate stuff out of the stack in front of me. So the first thing to talk about regarding this project is, so Linda from Regional Planning has taken a job with the town of Jericho as a planner and is no longer going to be working with regional planning, and so, which is a great thing for Jericho. It's
Oh, I know.
kind of a loss for us.
Yeah, it is
Yeah.
a loss for us.
Yeah.
But I did have a meeting with Linda and with Dean Pierce, who's joining us tonight via Zoom. Hi, Dean. And Dean is going to be taking over the municipal grant management from Linda. So we had a meeting last week and went over the project, next steps, all those kinds of.
Charlie, are we gonna talk about the wastewater project?
Something specific, or we're on a different part of the agenda right now, Sue. Can you hear us okay, Sue? Can anybody hear us?
Yeah, doesn't go.
Charlie, you're all garbled.
I'm over here, but it sounds fine.
It sounds fine. Can we move the mic closer?
Usually you don't want that kind of mic close.
Okay. Give us 1 sec, Sue. We'll try to figure out what's going on. I can hear Sue's background. Any better? Yes? No? No, you can't hear us. Okay. This was just working. How about now, Sue? Can you hear us now? Anything? No?
I don't think so.
If you'd like, I can show you what's coming out of the headphones. It sounds great.
How about now? Anything? No? No. I feel like I'm in the Roman gladiator. And now, anything? Yeah, better? Okay, great. I just clicked it back to the same setting it was on, so I have no idea what was wrong. Okay, so you guys can hear us now? Wait, can you hear us now? Sue, can you hear us? Can you hear us now? Anybody?
No.
Do you have to just sit right there?
I don't think so. I mean, the microphone is up here, not here. You can hear us. You can hear us now. Okay, so it's using the mic on the computer and not that mic.
Oh. Think you're having a meeting with Richard.
I knew the table was in the wrong spot.
I just don't understand what would. Okay, and now nothing, right? Yes. No. No. Bad. Okay. No. And now?
No, you come and go, Charlie. You're on, then off, on, off.
Now you can hear me, right? Now it's clear.
Can you hear me if I talk back here?
No.
Yes,
You can hear Suzanne?
If I say something, can you hear me?
No, it's picking up the mic. How about now? Anything? No?
no,
Okay, so for some reason it's not picking up.
yep,
For some reason it's not picking up the mic.
I have no explanation. The camera is hearing everything just fine.
Can you turn the computer around or we can all just speak up the computer?
Sure. Okay, we're gonna try like this. Can you guys hear now? No.
I have.
Can you hear me, Sue?
Did I leave that? Did I?
Okay,
Okay.
they can hear.
can't hear Sue.
You're gonna sit here, cause you're,
How is that different than sitting
I-
right here?
I don't know, so Sue, you can hear me.
I have two different microphones and they're both.
So,
as
can
loud
you
as
hear anything right now? How is it that you can hear Emily but not me and we're sitting in almost the exact same place? Maybe she does like you
Maybe she
better.
does
She just
like
wants
you
to listen to you and not me.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me from here, Sue?
yes.
Okay,
I don't
would you like my seat?
know. No. Can you hear? No, that's gonna cause feedback.
Well, there you are, Charlie. I heard you fine.
What if you mute that
What
one?
you,
But
yeah,
mute
what
this
you may
one.
wish to do is mute that computer and then use the speaker there.
Is that what you usually do? You don't? Don't usually do that.
We had to a couple
Try
times.
that.
Is that muted?
That's muted.
All right. How about now? You can hear me. Okay.
Yeah, and your
Can't
mic
hear
was
her.
lit up.
But what's gonna happen is that they're not gonna be able to hear you guys.
Sue just said yes and there was no audible.
She's
Just read her
muted.
lips.
She's muted.
Oh, yeah, because now we can't hear her because this
Oh.
computer's muted.
You should
The
mute
mic is muted, but the speakers should still be working.
The speakers are still on.
Oh, there.
I
just pressed the mute.
oh, maybe not.
Yeah.
Let me try this.
Ahoy, no. Ahoy.
Where do you mute on here?
How'd you make out?
Okay. Sue, say something.
Yes.
That was a picture of the original.
No, but see, if that's up, this mic won't pick up. Because you guys can't hear me now, right? You guys can't hear me at all, no?
But you can't amend it.
Huh?
You can't amend it.
Does the laptop you're currently
There's
on?
no picture anymore.
Oh, you
It's
converted it.
words,
Do we need this one? Can
but
we
it's
just use
still a
this?
PDF of words.
Okay.
You
This,
can block and copy, block from it and copy to another document.
Okay.
Does the silver laptop have speakers?
And
that
it's
has
German,
speakers,
so-
yeah, so if I
And
unmute,
then there was a problem in that
oh, come on.
I'm going to try
first,
and
there was too
check
much,
with the station.
for some reason I couldn't
or
read it.
something, but I
I mean, couldn't, yeah, literally read it.
Actually, wait,
Mhm.
wait. If
So I have print
And those speakers off.
from the PDF file and then scan, and my print came out
Okay.
perfect. And
Can
then
you
I
hear me?
scanned from that.
Can you hear me at all?
You speak German?
How?
Because you're
right.
muted.
Okay, sorry. How about now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. This is how we're gonna have to
Yeah,
run it.
because we can hear them.
Okay, alright, so there's gonna be some audio difficulties for other people at the table, so we'll try to reiterate responses or things like that as best we can. Sorry for the technical difficulties. So jumping back to where we were, as I said before, Linda is transitioning out of regional planning. She's going to work for the town of Jericho. She and I and Dean had a meeting last week, right? Because it's only Monday, it has to be last week, about the transition and Dean taking over as the municipal grant manager. Dean, do you want to come off and just take a moment to introduce yourself?
Sure, happy to just tell people who I am. My name is Dean Pierce. I work for the Regional Planning Commission, started a little over a year ago. Have worked in other regional planning commissions doing transportation related work, kind of returning to my roots, doing more water quality work, and grew up in Franklin. My objectives for tonight, as Charlie was saying, is to have the board consider approving me as the municipal project manager and authorizing a letter on your town letterhead to go into V-Trans. And then there are some other contracts that could be amended if it suits the board. And I could also just try to give you some quick and dirty updates, happy to do the work ahead.
Great, thanks, Dean. Why don't we handle the board actions that are required to transfer municipal grant management first, and then we can jump into updates. Again, Linda and Dean and I had a long meeting the other day talking through this. I have no concerns over Dean taking this over. I think he's going to be great at it. I do have a copy of Dean's resume somewhere here. At least I thought I did. If folks want to just take a quick look at it, you're welcome to. But again, the actions tonight would be to move to approve agreement amendment number 1 regarding the municipal grant management services for regional planning. This is amendment number 1 for an agreement for services between the Northwest Regional Planning Commission and the town of Montgomery. Subject to the matter is the agreement is to provide the town with municipal project management services for Lonely Bridge Road Stabilization Project. In accordance with attachment A, the maximum dollar amount for all services performed under the agreement shall not exceed $15,000 unless otherwise amended. The town will be charged for only that portion of the $15,000 actually incurred by the regional commission. Any costs over and above the maximum amount will be borne by the NRPC unless it is mutually agreed upon. So the amendment is modified to bump the $15,000 to $18,750. So there's money being added to this to account for the additional work that regional planning has done. That was all baked into the agreement and the budget tables. If folks remember seeing, it's a small version, but the budget table we reviewed. The NRPC services are included here, as well as the bump. So we've seen that budget increase before. This amendment formalizes that, so we're essentially saying yes, the agreement has been amended to allow for that increase from $15,000 to $18,750, and that is what the amendment is subject to. Anyone want to see a copy of it? Good.
So we just need a motion to.
Yep, the motion-
amend, municipal project management services from Northwest Regional Planning Commission.
Yep.
From 15,000 to 18,750. 18.
Yeah, yep.
Okay. So I'll make that motion.
So we have a motion made by Mark to approve the agreement amendment number 1 regarding the municipal grant management work from NRPC. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thanks, Emily. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, motion carries and we've adopted the amendment to the agreement. The next administrative action around this is to approve the transition to Dean Pierce as municipal grant manager. This will be reflected in the letter that is going to be sent to Nadia Lugo from V-Trans. Reading, Ms. Lugo, the Montgomery Select has selected and approved the appointment of Dean Pierce from the Northwest Regional Planning Commission to replace Linda Blash as the municipal project manager for the Longley Bridge project, Montgomery TAP TA 192. Attached, please find his responses to the qualifications survey as well as his resume. Please let us know if you need anything additional in order to proceed.
So do we make a motion to appoint Dean Pierce?
Yes.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
Great, we have a motion to appoint Dean Pierce as municipal project manager. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Great. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great. So we have now approved the agreement amendments. We've approved Dean as taking over as municipal project manager. I guess, Dean, at this point, do you want to offer an update on kind of next steps?
Sure, I can do that. And I'm guessing that is implicit in the motion or as part of the motion, it authorizes the signing of that.
Yes.
So this is a project that has some moving parts. I'm going to pull up a cheat sheet here. The town has been awarded additional funds to do this project. There are some things to happen on the state's end in terms of paperwork. I'm looking at from Nydia to Linda, where she was explaining that the grants and the additional funding would have to be amended, and she goes on to talk about a lot of administrative stuff having to do with project numbers and all of these things. And then she says, start looking for a project inspector, looking into the inspector procurement. Anyway, she's basically saying stuff needs to happen before the town can do a whole lot. And Linda was pushing back. So Linda is, and I'm going to be taking the baton from her in that regard, because of the need to get the project going so things can happen. The timing of the plant installations is something that's part of permit conditions or will be renewed conditions. We've already had a waiver signed off from Chris Brunel. And so anyway, we are waiting to hear back from that some of the things that she says might hold up the contracting are no longer a concern to her. So I just want people to know that I'm working on that and we'll be reporting back. The questions that I had for you, well, there is a specific Army Corps of Engineer permit that will expire December 7th, I believe it is. It will need to be renewed. That's another thing that's on my to-do list. We actually have to wait for something to happen before we renew that permit. So even though I would like to get it done ahead, there's no point in doing it until this other thing happens. So around December 7th, we will be moving forward on this permit change. In addition to the contract that bumps the amount of money that the Regional Planning Commission is getting for administering this, there is an analogous proposal to amend the contract with the King. They had wanted, I think, a larger number, but Linda worked with them to bring that down to a 10K bump. There are some materials that have been forwarded. I'm waiting for an actual executable document. I don't know, Charlie, if that's something that could be or should be addressed today. And then if that results in some discussion, I'm fine with that. There's also the question of who would be involved in the selection of anybody. I'm looking at my notes here. In procuring the inspector, who has been involved in those kinds of decisions in the past in the town, who should be involved in those decisions for this next phase. Someone who's going to inspect the work as it goes forward. I realize that's a little bit scattershot, but I'm just trying to get all those things.
So just to be clear, the inspector is somebody that we need to hire and bring on to inspect the work?
Yeah, and I'm familiar with this in another project that I will be assuming an NPM role. But in the note from Nydia, one of her bullet points is this is what should happen. We could start looking into the inspector procurement and contract commencement while waiting for the agreement. So when I'm reading that, and I haven't had a chance to speak with Nydia directly, but it would mean someone who is kind of like the clerk of the works or your agent instructing, because if that isn't necessary, if it turns out not to be necessary, then certainly you don't have to do it. But that's what that line indicates to be something that.
Okay, I guess before we seek somebody and appoint somebody and line up expenditures around that, I guess it'd be better to clarify whether or not we need it. So if we could get that clarity first, then we can move on to appointment. I think as far as who to consult for that, the committee that was dealing with this project consisted of myself and Mark and Aaron Kopax, the treasurer. I think that was it. So when the time is right, we can certainly convene the three of us to review and make a decision, pursuant to the process we were using earlier. And we wouldn't need to do that just because of the way things work around warning a formal meeting of the board. We can make those decisions outside of that hiring for that. That sound good? Okay, great.
Yes.
So then as Dean said, the next formal action around this whole process would be to adopt the amendment from Dubois and King. So the motion would be to approve the amendment of the contract with DNK for the Longley Bridge Road project and authorize the chair to sign the contract amendment on the board's behalf.
So their amendment was 10,000 more.
Yep.
Do we know what the number is the town share is going to be?
Yes, and I think I emailed this out to folks, but the total match that the town is now on the hook for is $119,995. That includes the $75,000 from the original TAP grant and then the $44,995 in match from the Stormwater Mitigation Award, which was $179,000.
Is there any credit for what we've already put in there, 30,000?
Yeah, so yes, we have credited expenditures against that, so our match has been coming out of this. So like we are accounting for our match, we have been accounting for our expenditures towards our match.
Okay, but we still have 119,000.
I don't know how much left of that we have. I'd have to ask Aaron based on what expenditures have been made and how, I also can't remember how this grant works in terms of whether we pay a percentage of each invoice and we slowly accrue, if that makes sense, or whether the match, because different grants have that handled. So I'd have to talk to Aaron about that, but I do know that the expenditures that we've made, there has been accounting of that towards our match.
Oh, okay. Just wanna make sure.
The other
So it's
question,
not an
I
additional
mean,
$119,000.
the total match
Okay.
that the town's on the hook
That's
for
what
now
I'm asking.
is
Yeah,
$119,000.
that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, 120,000 basically is the total match.
The total match, and we've already done some.
Yeah, I don't know where the present accounting is. I'd have to get Eric to run a report on what that looks like.
Okay.
And I can ask her to do that.
As long as, yeah. We need to get credit for what we've already put into it.
Yep,
I mean, this material is there, so.
yep.
Still a lot of money.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, well, that's a given. It's
I mean,
a ridiculous amount of money.
yeah.
And also, just to be clear too, I think we discussed this before, but there are some things currently in the project budget that are accounted for that we hopefully can discount. So for example, Dubois King's budget actually has in there that we are bringing in completely new material to replace what we put in there.
Well,
We used the right material so we wouldn't have to.
yeah,
And the
That's why
expectation,
we did
the
that.
expectation is that we won't have to. But I'm just saying, there are some things in the current budget that, you
Yeah.
know, knock on wood, will get itemed out because we won't need them. So
Yeah.
there is also the expectation that the overall revised budget will kind of go down.
so are we on board? I mean, this will have to go out to bid. I mean, is this, the process gonna be all right? I mean, to do it next year?
Yeah, so Dean, I don't know if you heard that or not, but the timeline that we're looking at, because
Yeah.
you mentioned that there's certain things around the Army Corps permit, but I think one of the questions that we had was around just big picture going out to bid this winter to be able to get the work rolling at the earliest possible date. Is that something we should be thinking about?
Well, yes, I left the meeting with you and Linda with that idea in mind, that we would be working on getting this out the doors, that it could be put out in January, that time frame. The thing that I was referring to earlier were the comments from Lydia that would put that into jeopardy. And we want to get her back on track so that we can be looking at a January bid process.
Okay,
I just think we
That's
really
the
need to
goal.
push for that. Excuse me,
okay, great, and so
every
just,
year it goes on.
yeah, and so one of the outstanding questions from Nydia is the need for this construction inspector and whether or not that's required.
Well, no,
Yeah, the construction
this
inspection
is what,
is one piece of it, but there are these things that she said required new
that's why.
agreements that Linda's thinking is that it could be expedited through amendments to existing agreements.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll keep track of where that conversation goes and see what we can do to speed that. But I think, Mark, your point's well taken, that we want to make this happen as soon as possible, so we'll do everything to get it there. So again, the motion would be to approve the amendment of the contract with Dubois King for the Longley Bridge project and authorize the chair to sign the contract amendment on the board's behalf. Is there a motion to that effect?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, thanks, Mark. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Great. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, motion carries. So Dean, I'll scan and email you back all these documents, and then if we do get a formal cover sheet from D&K on the contract amendment, I can sign that when we get it. But for now, the minutes reflect the board has approved the amendment.
So we
Thank you
do,
very much.
All right.
Hope you have a good.
Great,
we
thanks,
do
Dean.
have a meeting before the 7th, right? So we have to sign some papers from the Army Corps,
Yes,
so if we get that ready.
yes. What those papers might be and how they would be impacted, I don't know, so it's a case of just getting them in hand.
Well, if they got a date on it,
Yeah,
we just need to get them signed, so it's not like, okay, we didn't get that signed, so now it's gonna push it back.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Keep the fire.
yeah. Yeah, well, we'll make sure we expedite it, whatever we need to do. So that is it regarding the Longley Bridge Road project. Anything else anybody has on that or any questions? If not, we can move on in the agenda. The other item under Public Works here was the part-time hire. Mark, is there an update on that?
Kenny Miller is interested in the position. I think he brought in his,
Yep, we have his resume right here.
application and go from there.
An application, yeah.
An application.
Kim Miller, is he on the planning commission?
Yes,
Yeah.
Kenny is currently chair of the planning
That's what I
commission.
thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's interested in the position.
And this would be a part-time position through the winter to assist with plowing. Just
So
to
it's about
recap.
20 hours a week.
Do we,
Do you have a recommendation around the application? As road commissioner?
Yeah, I mean, I think I interviewed him. I think he'll be fine.
Okay,
Should you be in executive session and should we leave?
we don't have to
We
necessarily.
don't have to, no.
I mean, if we need to, we can certainly entertain that motion, but I'm kind of hoping this is going to be a relatively easy discussion. We have received an application, we have one application in the stack.
Yeah.
Mark's recommendation is to move on the hire.
I'm assuming he has a CDL.
He doesn't need a CDL because he's driving a smaller truck.
Oh, okay.
So, and he has experience driving a truck.
Yep.
You don't need a CDL.
Gotcha.
Any other questions for Mark? Okay. Then I would move that we extend the offer of temporary or part-time employment to Kenny Miller to fill the part-time plow position.
So what were we gonna do for compensation for rate? So, I think we,
That.
That would be an executive session.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, then I will pull my motion back and I will move to enter into executive session.
Yeah.
In order to discuss compensation.
A second.
Or more formally, in order to discuss contracts, which is the
Yeah,
trigger in the statute.
yeah.
So we have a motion made and seconded by Suzanne. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor of entering into executive session, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, so at this time, the board will enter into executive session. Yes, so we are now back in recording with the Northwest Access TV. The Zoom recording was on, so the Zoom recording should have picked up the motion that was made and passed coming out of executive session. And also reflected in the minutes. Buildings and grounds, 98 Main Street. So post office conversations continue to be like banging your head against a brick wall. There's no news there. The appraisal work is moving forward as we discussed. I met her Saturday to get her in there and take a look at that. And so at some point in the next couple weeks, I assume we'll have the appraisal in hand. And then that will be a piece of information to move forward with around conversations with the Postal Realty Trust, the organization that's expressed interest in buying the building, or any future disposition of the building itself,
Yeah.
whether it's to them or somebody else or whatever.
Yeah.
Again, main decision point here is waiting on the post office to come back regarding the conditions around which they want to come back. Again, they've said they want to come back, but the last time I spoke with the facilities manager, he thought they were still there, so yeah, they don't know what's going on in there.
Wow.
So anyway, that's where that is.
Is the Postal Realty Trust organization, company, whatever they are, interested in the building with the knowledge that the post office is not in there anymore?
Yes, They're fully aware. I talk to this guy like weekly.
So like if they were to buy the building, it would then be on them to coerce the post office to communicate?
I think it would be, I think based on our conversations, I think that the decision made by them to purchase the building would be contingent on the post office coming back. So assuming we had that in writing, whatever, to whatever degree they needed it, probably what would then happen is the lease agreement negotiation would be handed off to them. We'd have to discuss the sequencing of this to make sure that the town's interests are protected
Right.
in terms of what's executed first. But I think the main decision point for them is the post office is coming back, because that's what they do. They
Right,
hold real
so I
estate
mean,
back.
do they have ability to better connect and communicate with the post office than maybe we do?
I've asked them and they kind of laugh a little bit.
Okay, alright, I'm just
Yeah.
trying to look for another avenue
No,
to
trust me,
explore
it's, if there was
you know.
someone I could light a fire under somewhere, I'd be pouring gasoline on the fire right now, but I don't know how to better. Yeah, not the building. So that's what's going on there. The only other item under,
So the other day,
yeah,
stopped draining water in the town hall, so that's all closed up.
the Grange Hall's closed up.
Yeah.
Okay,
Town
great.
hall.
Town Hall.
Yeah.
Okay, great. We'll add that note.
Yeah.
If there's nothing else under Buildings and Grounds, Water Commission, the items here are related to the power project on Reagan Road. We did finally get the documents back from
Yeah.
Vermont Electric Co-op, one of which is an utility easement for Jim and Ann Lackner Graybeal, so I will follow up with them.
Okay.
The other is a town road right-of-way occupancy request. So I'm gonna read this. To the select board of the town of Montgomery, Vermont, comes VEC. They are, respectfully request that in order to furnish the adequate service that we're requesting within the right-of-way of the road, VEC requests that such work be done in a manner safe to public travel and subject to the rules thereof. Whereas statute reference, VEC requests permission from the town of Montgomery to place, construct, reconstruct, operate, repair, maintain, improve, mark, replace thereon, and remove therefrom electric communications and data transmission and distribution systems consistent with poles, wires, cables, conduits, equipment anchors, guide wires, and braces, and other fixtures upon, over, through, across, and under the right-of-way. VEC may also cut and prune all trees and vegetation to the extent necessary to protect and keep said systems clear from the growth, and cut from time to time all dead, weak, leaning, or dangerous trees that are tall enough to strike the wire or in falling distance of the electric transmission or distribution line system. This is basically just the request from V-Trans to allow the occupancy of their infrastructure in our right-of-way. This needs to be approved by the board and sent back to them. So the action tonight would be to approve the town right-of-way occupancy request. Anybody want to look at this?
I do.
Yeah, we've done it before. So I'll make a motion to approve the town road occupancy request for the Reagan Road, water, to put poles up on the Reagan Road in our right away.
Yep.
I'll second.
Yeah, we've done these before, even people out on the crossing.
Yeah.
And the Lackners have like the same.
Oh, Lackners have a full
Yeah.
easement.
Yeah, yeah. Because it's in their right away.
Yeah,
As soon as this is all done, then they can go ahead and
Yep.
schedule the first poles in and everything. Hopefully next year we can get that done.
Did you wanna read it? You're good. Great, so if there's no further discussion, we do have a motion made to approve the town right-of-way occupancy request by Mark, seconded by Emily. If there is no further discussion,
A second.
No, I didn't second
I'm
it.
sorry, seconded by Suzanne, I apologize. If there's no further discussion, we can vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, motion carries, and this requires board signatures, so we need to make sure that gets signed tonight. All right, with that, we'll move.
The water, the curb stop is fixed at the MTA, so
Yes.
whenever you want it shut off.
Awesome.
It's more of a process than.
I really
we got-
appreciate
We got
it.
it done.
I'll probably be in touch in the next couple weeks.
Yeah,
Get
okay,
that turned off.
yeah.
Great. So if there's nothing else under Public Works, we can jump to visitors. So I know that the Planning Commission is on the agenda for this evening, and we do have 2 members of the Planning Commission here in the room. If it's okay, if I can just see if Sue and Merle have anything that we can kind of dispense with quickly, and then we can move to you guys. So Sue, do you have anything for visitors tonight?
Yes, I wanted to ask, I received a letter about the people coming to, walk the property.
Yep.
Would they wanna talk to us, or you don't know?
No, they don't need to talk to any homeowners. Essentially, this work is just survey work to get an on-the-ground survey done of the built environment to understand where infrastructure could go. So they're looking at where houses, decks, trees, sandboxes, swing sets, I mean, basically anything that could be disrupted by the installation of that infrastructure, they want it mapped so we can figure out how to do it in a way that minimizes the disruption of anything.
And they wanted to see where the existing septic is.
I think as part of this, they will try to determine where the existing tank is. So if there is somebody home, they might ask, but that necessarily is not part of it. So homeowners don't need to be present. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Sue. Merle, anything for visitors?
Yeah, I don't know if you folks, knew Stearns Allen passed away.
Stearns Allen.
Well, you folks didn't know him as well, but Stearns was, an advisor for PBNR for decades. In 1980, Stearns first came to Montgomery and was a great help. And the Montgomery appraisal, and over the years, he was up from time to time, the listeners called on him for help. And man, it's prophetic, it's simple. And he had cancer, and thankfully for a short time, he didn't have to suffer too awfully long. And he passed away last week. So I guess you folks didn't know him, but I've known him since 1980. And I guess I was just wondering about, when you get down, I guess the next thing, the sale of dispatch, is that for like 911 call and so forth?
Yes, that is the dispatch contract we have with the St. Albans Police Department that does handle all emergency dispatch 911 calls in our area. So yes.
And I think since the spring fiasco, that's really been a good road on summer long. Been excellent road.
Great.
Unfortunately, the last couple of years, as I know Mark knows, he travels, we've had some pretty big potholes. And they haven't all been taken care of. Unfortunately, we're going into winter with about 3 or 4 of them really big potholes taken care of. And sometimes they just scrape the road will just scrape the loose gravel. And when that's done, the potholes are right back in about just a day or 2.
Okay. Thanks, Merle. I do know that a crew was out grading prior to snow setting in.
Yeah, we're not grading it.
Yeah, so as Mark is indicating, that grading work's done, so unfortunately at this point, no more work around grading is gonna be occurring until the spring, so we're gonna have to deal with what the conditions that we've got, so hopefully as winter progresses, those don't worsen.
Yeah.
We could put a scuba gravel or so in that small truck, don't fill potholes and pack it in, I think it would help a lot.
Okay, well, I think Mark can take a spin up and look at it.
Well, I've seen them, I go around there every day.
Okay. All right, thanks, Merle.
I just miss them.
All right, now we'll go to visitors in the room. Do you guys have anything besides the planning commission?
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
You sent me, Charlie, you sent me an email a few days ago concerning a right-of-way.
Yeah.
I responded, I think. Did you get that? Is it all taken care of?
Yeah, I think we've resolved it.
Okay.
There was some questions around whether there was actually conveyance of property or not. And I think we've resolved it to the point where we can move forward with it.
You got my response?
I did, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, there were some conflicting things from documents and different attorneys, and I think I've worked it out with Genevieve to a point where we can basically just do what we need to move forward, and
All right.
0.13 acres will not break the, break the town, but the paperwork might. All right.
Okay, planning commission.
Yeah, so let's move on to, if there's no objection, let's move to item 6A, which is the planning commission.
Yeah.
And so with that, we'll give you guys the floor.
We're okay. We're here to address the town plan that's expiring mid-February 2024. We've just recently been told that there's a municipal planning grant available. Very 11th hour. Our time frame is extremely tight. And what it involves is our seeking help from either regional planning or a contracted party.
Yep.
We're hoping to go the route of regional planning to help us with the application, as well as application for the grant, as well as the town plan itself. What it involves is a resolution indicating the town, the select board entirely would have to sign it, the planning commission chair would have to sign it. The town would be on the hook for a match of about 10%. And Greta, Emily actually had given us two examples of a very minor update to a town plan that would probably run in the range of $5,000. So the 10% is 500. And a more extensive update with outreach would probably run in the range of $20,000. At this stage, our intention is to prepare a skeleton of what we're after in terms of planning. It would include items like short-term rentals as it affects housing. Focus would be on town center. Greta kind of coached us on what comprises a successful application. We're probably, well, it's difficult to say, but I think it's less outreach, but there are more complications in updating demographics. So what we're asking for is the town to accept the ceiling match of $2,000. The application is deadline for December 1st, which is insane. I mean, this is just the amount of time that we were given.
Yeah.
Barry and I separately intend to ask them to put ticklers out, because it's an annual thing, like 6 months ahead of time. This program opened up in July. And anyway, if the board can accept their portion of it and the resolution, and appoint somebody from I think it's the clerk, would be the appropriate appointee.
Yeah, give them the
Have a
application.
copy of the resolution.
Yeah.
If you could execute that online, I'm assuming somebody has access to the gear. Online grant application submission.
Oh, I assume so.
You have so many grants.
If you look at the instructions, it says,
Yes, it does.
it'll say, it
Basically,
says who they have to be unless, you know, and have they done it before? And if they're already in the system, then, you know, you can just go ahead.
Okay. I mean, we did this last time we did the town plan. It sounds like some of
Yeah.
the systems are different.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And to be clear, the town's match is 10%, not at most 10%, it's 10%.
And you're
So we're asking for $2,000 to be the ceiling that the town is agreeing to.
could you repeat that? What, how much?
2,000,
2,000.
which would be if the grant total is 20,000.
Okay.
Okay.
Or the contract total is 20,000.
And so tonight, what you need is the resolution.
The resolution, yeah.
Do you want to see this? I can move it if you guys want to share.
So this is what needs to go in by December 1st?
yes, this would accompany the application.
Okay.
Right, but we need to get that to regional planning so they can prepare the actual application ASAP.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And they believe that that's,
Doable?
Yeah.
Yeah, Greta
They do.
said
Okay.
that they could get it done.
all right.
So, we'll be the fastest agency in
Mhm.
the history of mankind.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I think they've done a few of these, so my guess is a lot of
They
it's
have some,
plug and play.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
and this in particular,
Yeah.
yes, for sure. And I'm sure they have templates.
Great. So the motion would be to adopt the FY '23 municipal resolution for municipal planning grant for the town plan update.
I would make that motion.
Moved by Emily. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
I think you need to include the $2,000 in the motion.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Not to exceed or something like
not
that.
we don't need you for this, but yeah. So do you want to?
I'd like to amend
Yeah, go
my
ahead.
motion to cap the town match at $2,000.
Just to read it back, Emily moves to adopt the FY '23 municipal resolution for municipal planning grant for town plan update with town match capped at $2,000. Is there a second? Thought I heard one from
I'll
Lisa.
second that, yep.
Great. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, motion carries. So,
How many years is it? You have to update the plan?
Every 4 years, I think.
Oh, it is, okay.
so this requires board signatures as well.
Yeah.
If you want, we'll just pass this now, and that way we can give it to you, and you guys can stay or leave, whatever you want.
We'll have word whether the
So-
application was accepted or not by January 24th.
So when the plan gets updated, then does that have to go like to the town meeting?
No,
Oh, it doesn't?
no, we have,
That's
the
just-
planning commission has to hold a public hearing
For the updates?
for the update.
Okay.
And then we'll doing some, if we're gonna do the major update, which is the $20,000, we'll be doing outreach to the town
Yeah.
to have it get input,
Input of what? Yeah,
what should be in it.
okay.
Then we have a public hearing on our draft, make a change if necessary, then pass it on to you folks,
Okay.
and you have a public hearing, and then make changes, and you adopt it
Yeah.
or not.
I just want to double check whether the front of that needs any additional signatures or not. as well. I don't want to
Figured
get
that.
You need to appoint the
Needs the
administrator.
municipal planning commission chair.
Not from.
No, I think if you, oh, yeah,
You said the town clerk is generally the administrator for this?
yeah, it's kind of confusing because there's administrator and then there's agent and there's that box that you check that makes it regional planning. And you need to look at all the terms to make sure that you're getting the right one.
Yeah, okay, so,
But Charlie, when you apply for grants, who actually logistically does the application here?
depends on the grant, but me, usually,
You do. And you do it online?
depends on the grant. Some of them have online platforms, some of them are submittals of PDFs, some of them are, yeah, it depends on what format you am in. I'm not familiar with the Gears platform.
Okay, because that was one of the requirements of applying, was that you adopt the Gears platform?
Yeah, so I think probably what's gonna have to happen is that regional planning will do the grant application and then they'll probably upload it into a system acting as the municipal grant manager, and then the authorizing official, which would be the board, has to sign in with their own credentials to then submit it. Similar to other grants we've done where party A uploads, party B certifies and submits. The question, I guess, is the planning commission going to use regional planning as the municipal project manager for this? Is that the expectation?
That's the expectation, yes.
Okay, so if
I
that's,
think they would go in 3A,
Yeah.
is that correct?
yeah, so if
There's a
that's
box
all,
that has a check space
On
and
the top of
that's,
the page.
Oh, up there.
the regional planning commission will serve as agent for the municipality. Yes, okay, so. I don't know if that negates the need for,
yeah, that's what I was wondering and I
I'm
haven't
not sure it
really-
does negate the need. I think someone's from the municipality has
well,
to be a point
yeah.
person.
here is this, I will let you fill in the names and titles of who you want to be what. And then whenever it needs to be submitted, just make sure that,
Yeah, okay, what we can do is contact, what's her name?
Emily.
Emily tomorrow and find out.
Okay.
And, after the planning commission approves it, Kenny signs it, give it to me and I'll scan it and send it to everybody.
yeah, and then
As a
just,
PDF.
and then just let us know what format the approval has to happen in, whether it's signing that physically or hitting the submit button on the Gears platform or,
She had sent me this and it was a PDF document
Yeah.
that you could actually populate
and
online,
do it. Okay,
but you can also scan it.
well, just let us know if any additional signatures are needed. I think that, I mean, because we're not gonna meet before December 1st again, but I
That's
think
why we're here.
with this approval, I think if we need to sign off or submit something, we're
Yeah.
fine to do that.
Good.
Cool,
Thank you.
awesome. Well, thanks so much for
Thank you.
doing it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
All right, with that, let us go back to old business. The rest of this should be pretty quick. FY 23, or St. Albans Police Contract.
I'm awful to take it.
So,
Go ahead and do it. Give it to Kenny.
we have a updated dispatch contract from our good friend. Basically, this is for the FY 23. The annual payment here is $15,083. Just so folks are aware right now, this contract is subject to FY 24. So we have not done the FY 24 budget yet. This contract for FY 24 is for $15,083. For context, FY 23, the amount was $14,364, so they're increasing it by $719.
So we don't need to approve this now, right? Or,
We don't need to approve it and get it back to them right now. If we have an expectation of not approving it, we can hold it.
I think we're probably.
Usually it's a pro forma, we kind of gotta do it.
Then we know what then we know where.
And we know what to go. And just to be clear, this comes out of the fire department budget. So is there a motion to adopt? Again, this is just the standard emergency communications dispatch services contract.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the Seattle Police Dispatch contract for FY24.
Yep.
I'll second
Or
the motion.
do we need it now?
Yeah, I've got it here in the amount listed.
Okay.
Seconded by,
Mayberry, thank you.
any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, motion carries, so we'll sign that and get it back to them.
Hopefully we get things done with the regular tank, but.
We can actually hear them.
Yeah, we'll actually hear them.
This next one is,
Try to figure out what they're saying.
this next one on old business is, not necessarily anything that needs
Yeah.
board action on, but just so folks are aware. So we basically got a notice, your town has received hazard mitigation assistance through FEMA to acquire property susceptible to reoccurring flood damage. The Code of Federal Regulations, blah, 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 blah. As it applies to this, regardless of the enacted, these regulations require such properties to be maintained for open space, recreational, or wetlands practices in perpetuity. As part of this, we need to periodically sign an attestation that these properties are being used for that purpose. So the property acquisition compliance form is subject to, and this is kind of funny because these parcels don't exist anymore, so Genevieve and I had to kind of backfill what they're talking about, but it's 2539, 2579, and 2528 North Main Street. This
That's
is
where the river was.
the community gardens and Riverwalk
Yeah.
Park.
Yeah.
Has the property been transferred to another entity? No. Have any structures or improvements been made in the property since the last inspection? No. Current photos, Genevieve's getting those now. We'll sign and get this back. This doesn't require board approval, but just so folks know, we're doing this.
Yeah.
We're in compliance.
Yeah.
Okay. Last thing under old business, this is gonna be one of those fun, like, through the looking glass moments, but the Northern Borders Regional Commission, which we applied to for money to construct the first phase of the streetscape project, which we applied for and then were awarded. Turns out that in addition to the application, we needed to submit an authorization to submit the application. And so before they can issue a notice to proceed, which basically is the last step to say, yes, you have the funds, we need to authorize me to submit the grant application, which has already been approved and awarded. Northern Borders.
This is why things take so long.
Yeah, Northern Borders Regional Commission, NBRC Streetscape Application Authorized Official Resolution. I'm reading the resolution now. On November 21st, 2022, during a duly noticed meeting of the Montgomery Selectboard, i.e. the board, held in Montgomery, Vermont, the board, acting pursuant to its authority, adopted the following resolution. Resolved that the board authorize and give permission to board chairperson Charlie Hancock, acting as the authorized official, to sign both the NBRC SEID application for the Montgomery Gateway project, and should this project be selected for funding, which it was, all NBRC investment documents that bind the applicant. Signed and attested this date, 21st of November, 2022.
So we need that as a motion.
Yeah, we need a motion to adopt the resolution.
I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution.
Don't drop the ball, Charlie, make sure you get that application out.
Yeah. So the motion to adopt the resolution's been made by Mark, seconded by Suzanne. Is there any further discussion?
Sure hope we get it.
Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Great.
You get to sign that.
There's a spot for me to sign it. Sure. I don't know. So much of this stuff is like mind-bending as far as paperwork goes. It's also like nowhere in the application thing to say this. It was like buried in a 400-page book. I mean, it's ridiculous. Anyway, new business. We already hit the planning commission. There are no liquor, tobacco licenses, and no fleet permits. So that brings us to the end of our agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Charlie, I have my hand raised.
I'm sorry, Sue, I didn't see you. What's going on? What can I help you with?
I just have a very quick question.
Yep.
On the 1% option tax.
Yes.
How do we know that everybody's complying?
So, we don't. To be completely honest, we don't. Right now, every business in town has been notified that they need to be collecting the 1% local option tax, and that tax is due when they file their reports. If they file their reports with the state, whether it's quarterly or biennially or however they do it, the state will look and the state will say, is this individual collecting, or is this individual paying the 1% local option tax? If that payment is not represented on the forms submitted to the tax department, they will then go back to the submitter and say basically, where's your payment on this? So the catch would be that when the tax department receives their quarterly or whatever payments, the tax department sees that that's included or not. Now, there are certain things around certain types of businesses that kind of make that convoluted, one of which is around short-term rentals. It's not clear to us how the state monitors that or manages that. It's kind of a gray area. We've been told that the state abdicated the ability to audit Airbnb. I don't quite know the details of that.
Wouldn't it be under their rooms and meals tax?
It would. I mean, the question is, if an Airbnb is not collecting the tax and they file their appropriate tax documents with the state, a question's been raised as to whether or not the state would then have the capacity to.
So based on location,
Based on location, they should.
because when you submit them, you have to check either like it gives you a list of municipalities that either have a local option tax and you have to check which one you are doing business in, or you have to certify and then sign on your tax documents saying that you're not conducting business in any of those municipalities. So that comes back to like falsifying your tax documents.
Charlie, the reason why I ask is because today I got my consolidated bill, and sure enough, 1% local option tax is listed right there on my bill, on consolidated.
Huh.
I didn't
think they would.
I didn't realize that those kinds of services were subject to the 1% local option tax.
No, it's right on there. It said local Montgomery tax.
Huh.
It's right on my bill.
Yeah, I'll look into that. I didn't think that.
No, I mean, that's fine. And I know that Lutz's does it because
Well, yeah.
it's on in their bill. It's
Yep.
right on there.
Yeah, let's
And the Black Lantern does it. But there are certain restaurants in town that are not collecting the 1%.
Yes, and so just to be clear, there are restaurants in town that are collecting taxes differently than what might be apparent if you do the math yourself on your bill. There are businesses in town that are doing that intentionally.
They pre-bake it into the pricing.
Yeah, I mean, essentially some businesses eat some of the tax. There's certain reasons why they would do that. For example, if you go to buy a beer and it costs $5.03, they might eat the 3 cents so they don't have to make change. I mean, there's reasons why businesses do that. But just the key is noting that all businesses are liable for the tax whether or not they are collecting it across the board.
I just didn't know whether the state stepped in when you're not paying, if they're not paying.
I mean, so the answer is yes.
Okay.
Although I will point out again that there's an inn owner in town who is dubious as to short-term rentals payments around this, and it's not clear to us the process that's used there, and there might be some gray area there for any number of reasons, but
Well, Charlie, if they come to the DRB for a conditional use, we state right in one of the conditions is that they will pay their rooms, that they will collect and pay the rooms and meals tax.
yeah.
Now, you know, how do we check that? I don't know, but I mean, we put it in as a condition.
Okay, well, thanks, Sue.
Sue, I got a question for you. We're gonna put the snowflakes and the banners up probably Wednesday.
Sue, I don't know if you could hear Mark, but Mark said that the plan is to put the snowflakes and banners up Wednesday.
Oh, great.
So how,
Great.
do we just stagger them? We put a snowflake and then a banner?
And
Or
so-
is there a map?
So Mark's question was, is it just a case of staggering them, or is there more complicated math involved?
No,
Okay.
you know what? One flag, one snowflake.
I know I had a map last year, so.
All right.
I think just every other one.
Okay.
Awesome, well, thanks so much,
I just
Sue.
wanted to make
No
sure.
rhyme or reason.
Okay.
Okay.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Yeah.
You too,
You
Sue.
too.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, so is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Bye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Great, and the meeting is adjourned at 7:50 PM.